Hey guys, how you guys doing? Welcome back, ladies and gentle cars, to the Freeman Motorsports channel. Today we're doing our first weekend review breakdown on this channel, the first one of the 2022 NASCAR season. The first one on this channel, like I just said, this is something new we're doing for the 2022 NASCAR season, as well as weekend previews, which will be happening on every Thursday in precession to a NASCAR race happening that weekend. And I'm kind of saying that because even though there's a Thursday in this week, there's no NASCAR race on Sunday. There's the Super Bowl, so there will not be any weekend preview or weekend interview going on this weekend. Maybe I'll do some sort of live stream at some point in the weekend, but I really can't promise anything. I'll probably be working on other types of content. We'll turn down the music just a bit. It's louder than I thought. But yeah, guys, what we're planning to do in this type of content is, it's pretty much in the name, it's just a weekend in review. Just talk about what happened and just talk about it, discuss. Honestly, for me this weekend, I would say in some aspects NASCAR exceeded my expectations, but in many other aspects it did really not meet the bar or that I had set for them. I think one aspect that I've kind of forgotten about, but a lot of other people have been griping about it, is that the Fox broadcast was pretty bad. I think there were a lot of other technical difficulties Fox was having during like the pre-race and things like that, but I wasn't paying as much attention during those things, so I didn't pick up on things like that. But one thing that was pretty brutal was having cautions during green flag racing at a track where, I mean, you even have if you have a commercial that's 1 minute and then just come right back, you're going to miss 4 to 5 laps of racing. And in only a 150 lap event, that's, I'm trying to do the quick math, that's like 1/30th of the race. And that's if you have a 1 minute caution, whereas they had like 3 or 4 minute cautions during green flag racing. So we basically missed nearly 20 to 25 laps of this event to the just commercial breaks. In this event, that's like 1/6 of this entire race that we missed due to caution. So I'm just like, come on, guys. But like overall, I'm not too disappointed. I'm also glad that it was such a success. I feel like it didn't do anything too crazy, but I guess a lot of people must have had really low expectations for this event, because when I was looking at comment sections on like NASCAR's Instagram or Twitter and whatnot, people were like, no, this wasn't that bad. I enjoyed this. Let's come back here, which was not really what I was anticipating, but I was glad to see that, because I think we should come back here. I think we should try to do something like this in the future. I don't think we should ever make this a points paying race unless we can work out a few key issues. Excuse me. And I'll talk about those issues that I'm thinking about here in a second. But hey, Build It Bricks, what's up? How you doing? Appreciate everybody tuning in right now. Also, I really have to say thank you to you guys. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start off with. Is I just want to say thank you to you guys for just the phenomenal weekend we've had on this channel. All the new people interacting with the content, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm probably going to bring this up a couple more times on this channel. Like, I mean, it was truly amazing just how well things were this weekend statistically in literally every single category. And so it really does mean a lot to see you guys I mean, having that much enjoyment in the stuff that I'm making. So also, I'm trying to get those stats for you guys. Like, I don't really want to do this as like a flex. I'm more so saying this just as out of out of appreciation. Like, I mean, here, I'm just having to edit a couple more things really quick. And okay, guys, so this weekend we had 14,600 of you guys tune in, which was truly like amazing. And of you guys that tuned in, nearly 12,000 of you guys, I mean, actually not 12,000, nearly 13,000 of you guys are first-time viewers to this channel, which is amazing. And then we also had nearly 500 view hours during this weekend, which was amazing as well. Like, both of these are records. Saturday alone, that live stream during qualifying was like my best statistical like 3 hours ever on this channel, and we got nearly 100 new subscribers, so that's great too. Nearly 100,000 people saw my content. Now only about 15% of you guys clicked on it, but that's like pretty good statistically. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much more I can ask for other than you guys, what you did this weekend, tuning in as much as you did. Also, the chat was always super engaged and lively, and that made it so much more enjoyable for me, and I think it made it more enjoyable for you guys who are watching as well. And yeah, but here are some of the first big, I guess, negatives I want to talk about this weekend. We're going to talk about negatives before we get into the positives. Basically, the one big negative I have with coming back to the Clash, and I think my biggest negative with it in terms of ever making it a points-paying race, is that it's so one-grouped, mainly on the restarts, because especially like on the initial race restart, since there's no choose cone, the people who qualify in second are like screwed. Like, they're lucky to get tucked down into second place, which they were able to do quite a few times, but it wasn't usually second place. It's the people further back in the pack starting on the outside row who would lose like 4 or 5 spots getting freight trained on the inside. Like, that is a, I think, serious issue in terms of ever making this permanent like thing that we do for a points paying race, because I don't really know how they can fix that. But there's 24 race fan, how you doing? It was really good you were there. I know that's the other thing I was going to say is I think NASCAR did achieve their goal of entertaining like the fans who are there, mainly in person. Like, I think they achieved quite a few, like, I think they got a lot of people who were going to their first NASCAR race to come to this race. And yeah, from everybody I've seen who's at the race, everybody says they had a great time, and I'm not surprised. Like, the facilities there are really nice. The track looked beautiful. The cars looked beautiful. There was cool action-packed racing. I mean, it's short track racing. You can see everything. The cars are right there in front of you. What's not to enjoy? I think the things that people don't enjoy are more so just little technicalities that when you put them all together, they do amount to like something pretty big. But I think they're somewhat easy to fix. I think the one that's going to be the hardest to fix is the one I'm talking about right now. It's just the outside line is just so dead on the restarts because, well, obviously, I mean, it's like Martinsville. That's how it is at Martinsville. But, I mean, and then here's the other thing that also kind of intertwines with this is if you started on pole and you had a fast car, like, it was impossible to lose that track position because you could just get such a good launch. Usually, other than Tyler Reddick battling pretty hard with Kyle Busch on the outside for a couple laps, and there were a couple times where people were able to get by people on the outside, which I don't have to assume that would result of somebody on the inside like locking up or making a mistake, because it was just impossible to pass on the outside, and so that meant you had to use the chrome horn. So I don't know. I mean, it was like Old Bristol little. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like Old Bristol just minus the banking. And I think there are like positives to that. Like, it's something that a lot of NASCAR fans wish there was more of. And I enjoyed seeing it. It's just here, I'm trying to think of how to word it a bit better. It was just like, yeah, so here, it's if you started on pole, well, the initial jump, you'd probably get at least 2 car lengths between you and the second place car to start off with. And then that car had to come back and chase you down and try and get around you, which you could only do by basically knocking that car out of the groove. And the thing was there wasn't any way to like gain track position not on the track. There was no such thing as like tire strategy, which I guess makes sense. They really weren't saying anything about tire wear at all this entire weekend. So So you couldn't do any tire strategy, and even if you were to, there wasn't a pit road, which obviously if they ever wanted to incorporate a pit road, it'd be very, very hard. Like there's not space. It'd be very weird. I mean, in terms of pit road, of having live pit stops. And I think I think there are positives to not having live pit stops in this type of race, but I think without there being live pit stops and being able to lose and gain spots on pit road, I mean, it was just really hard to lose track position if you started on the inside line and had decent pace. Like Kyle Busch and Joey Logano were the fastest 2 cars, but Kyle Busch, he always started on pole on the inside line. So he never hardly ever got challenged on a restart other than Joey Logano there towards the end of the race. So it was just kind of like. And then I feel like another thing that was so bad was that Fox's like streaming was just all over the place. They had so many bad camera angles. It was truly atrocious. So I don't know. Here's something I was going to go through now here in a second. Something that I was going to go through here in a second is we were going to go through. Here, hold on one second, guys. So something I was going to talk about really quick is the losers and winners during the clash. Obviously, there really is only one winner, and that's the winner of the event because there's no points paying that comes after this race. And obviously, the people who finished higher up and got a decent purse, I guess. And I guess the teams that got momentum, and I would say the teams that definitely got momentum would be RCR and Colleague. I mean, even though they had moved their cars wreck out of the race or had technical difficulties, mechanical difficulties, still Dylan coming home P3 and Reddick, who dominated early on and probably would have won this race if he hadn't had that mechanical failure. And then you had the Priest getting wrecked out by Larson. Now, I don't think Priest had the same speed that the 2 leaders did, but he probably would have easily gotten a top 5 and at least a top 10 unless he got wrecked by somebody else. And then, did I say Priest? I meant Haley. Anyways, and then you have AJ Allmendinger, who didn't show as much pace as Haley, but like he was still solid. Like he worked his way up from the last chance qualifier. He was actually the biggest gainer, or tied for the biggest gainer during this race. He gained 12 spots from 21st to 9th, and the other biggest gainer was Eric Jones, who went from 16 to 4th and really did have a pretty solid performance. Honestly, a lot of these guys in the top 10 moved up quite a few spots to get there. Like you look at Logano went from 4th to 1st, Dillon went from 10th to 3rd, Jones 16th to 4th, and then you have Custer 14th to 7th, Allmendinger 21st to 9th, and Harvick 19th to 10th. And really the only couple big losers in terms of guys who didn't get wrecked out would be like Stenhouse and Suarez, who both started in the top 10 but finished back towards the lower end of the lead lap. Suarez especially, he showed great pace in practice and qualifying, and in the heat race he was all right. And then in the main event, like he was gone after 10 laps. I mean, he just fell off like the rock. I don't really know why, but I mean, he wasn't the worst of the cars out there, but I mean, he dropped all the way back to 14th and was really not even a factor in the top 10 nearly the entirety of the race. And so, and I believe if he would have started the race back in like 15th, 20th, he probably wouldn't even crack the top 10 once. Which I'm not really saying as like a diss. I'm just saying that as like in terms of how it looked like from watching on TV. And I appreciate everybody who's been watching for a little bit. We'll probably just go to about 7:30 or so. Actually, it may be a bit more abbreviated because I'm having some technical difficulties on my end. But I'd also just say that, like, overall, I think the big wins of this weekend are like there was some like a lot of solid action. I think all the people who are hating on Ty Dillon in terms of what he was doing in the last chance qualifier, now, albeit I think he was over aggressive, but I think he was really pushing the limits in a way that like it made that race entertaining. Now it did almost make it like be like, oh goodness, we're getting shades of the 2020 Clash, but I mean, he wasn't the only one pushing the issue. I mean, Austin Cindric was also really flooring it like crazy. Bubba Walls was gotten to people multiple times. I mean, and those were the 3 cars that nearly all made it into the show. Now, only Bubba ended up making it, and Ty Dillon, I mean, what if he didn't, jump the restart? But, I mean, I'm glad to at least see that Ty Dillon did show like he had pace in the car. I mean, who knows if he would have been able to work his way into the main event in his heat, because he had that mechanical difficulty in the heat. And like that's the thing, is I feel like enough people aren't really are hating on Ty Dillon a bit too much here. Like his team, I don't know how big that mechanical issue was, but they had to repair that car in like an hour and send it out there for that last chance qualifier. And let's see what happens. And Petty GMS, I do have to say, did show pretty solid pace. Like Eric Jones, top 5. Ty Dillon could have made the Clash, but like he showed pace even though he was wrecking people out of the way quite a bit. But like that, I honestly did enjoy that, all the action that was happening in that last chance qualifier, because albeit interesting, the other couple heats in the other last chance qualifier was just people. I mean, there was no action hardly. There was a couple spins here and there, but everybody else, the 4th heat had a little action. But the other thing was that in the heats and last chance qualifiers, except the second last chance qualifier, the leader just checked out. I mean, checked out. So it was interesting to see that change up a bit in the last chance qualifier. And I was super surprised, honestly, in the race when it started off and Kyle Busch did not drive away, and like Tyler Reddick actually got by him pretty handily. Now, I do have to say this weekend really only had like 3 competitive cars. Now, there were quite a few cars that looked to have some pace, but I think another thing about this event is it definitely needs to be increased in length. People are saying that the Clash has been short in the past couple of years, but I don't think it's been like an hour short. If you take out the the Ice Cube concert in the middle, that race is like hardly 50 minutes. And I know it's a short track race, like kind of it's supposed to be modeled a bit off what you may see somewhat at like your local short track, and I know that obviously those races are quite a bit shorter, but like still, I mean, if I went to that event, I would want a lot more entertainment in the main event. Now you get the heat races and last chance qualifiers, so I guess that adds something, but like I don't know, it wasn't, I mean, there weren't a lot of fans there till the main event even started, but I guess that's just how LA is. Arrive late, leave early. That's a weird philosophy, but I have to say there were a lot of mechanical issues and mechanical failures. I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening under that first caution when you had Hamlin, Briscoe, and Reddick all just pull off the field, and you had like 2 of the top 4 like who have to pull off the track, that being Reddick and Briscoe, and everybody was like, what's going on? And then I did feel bummed when Ryan Preece had to retire. He showed decent pace. Honestly, both of the Rick Ware cars showed decent pace. Albeit I found it hilarious that all it took to get like everybody noticed that Rick Ware cars were doing better was them to literally not run last, like and like just be competitive and passing other cars. I was kind of bummed Landon Castle didn't end up making the show. He showed pace in practice and qualifying, but he really just got roughed up in his heat race. And then in the last chance qualifier, he didn't seem to have the same pace that he did in practice and qualifying. Here's the one good thing, is that times did improve quite a bit throughout the weekend. The qualifying pace was not the best, but I definitely would say they're going to have to do something different for qualifying next year, because the first 5 cars that went were running on a filthy track and put down terrible times. But then the people towards the end of qualifying were like each car that went, the times got faster and faster and faster, basically, because the track was getting more cleaned off. So I think they should try and do something a bit different. Like, they obviously can't do group qualifying, but I mean, I don't know. At least let some people maybe go out there and run a couple of hot laps and get the track a bit like worn off to start off. But hello, David Ingy. How you doing? I'm just doing this little weekend review. I'm gonna get off in like a minute or 2. I'm just breaking down what I thought about this weekend and just a short little live stream. I also want to give a shout out to Harrison Burton, who did not show great pace in practice, but really put things together in his last chance qualifier and was able to work his way in to the main event. Started 22nd, the second to last car. He got lucky because Ty Dillon gets disqualified, but he was the only rookie to make the field, and he finished in the top half of the field and picked up 10 spots throughout that race. I feel like I'd also... you think NASCAR goes back? I would say almost for certain. Yeah, I'd say pretty much for certain, unless the TV ratings like bomb for some reason. I would say it's nearly guaranteed. And I don't blame them. I would like for them to go back. I don't want this to become a points paying event anytime soon. I think it's still way too much of kind of like a crapshoot for it to become a points paying event. I think you're going to really need to refine the racing a bit. And honestly, it would be hilarious if we saw like a 500 lap race here. Or, I mean, even longer. You could probably do like, they could literally do 1,000 laps and that'd only be 250 miles. Now, 1,000 laps, that would take them at like the very fastest. Let's see. Oh, God. That would take them like 200. That would take them like nearly 5 hours if it was 1,000 laps. But maybe they did like 400 laps if they made a points paying race. And even if they don't make it a points paying race, I think they definitely need to increase it probably to 200 or 250 laps, because that race flew by. Like, it flew by. Both those 75 lap runs felt like 10 minutes because in reality they were only like 20 minutes. So people have been saying that the Busch Clash is like generally a shorter race, which it is, but I don't think it's like 50 minutes of green flag racing. Like, that's just my personal take on it. And David NG, I would like to say thank you to you because you've been really involved with the channel this weekend. Been into pretty much every single live stream, talking it up a bit with all the people in the chat. Now, obviously, this one's a bit smaller because, well, we're not really live streaming an event. I'm just kind of rambling off for a little bit. And but I still appreciate you tuning in for a minute. Now, I won't be doing probably anything on this channel between now and Daytona. I will be live streaming for the qualifying at Daytona to see who gets the front row, as well as to see which two open cars lock their way into the field. And then I will live stream each duel. And then so I'll be live streaming both duels, and then I'll do the Xfinity Series race on Saturday. And I may actually put up a poll if you guys want me to do the Truck Series race or the Xfinity Series race, because I'll probably only do one. I won't be doing the 500, like a 99% chance. I mean, maybe I will, but 99% chance I won't. But after 500, I'll be back with pretty much every race. That's good. They're doing more short tracks. Yeah, I think it's good that they're trying to incorporate more short tracks into the season. Like, I think everybody loves short track racing. Now, I don't want them to get too I don't want them to throw too many on here like they did with road courses the other year, but I mean, I think road courses, I think short tracks are truly like part of the heart of the sport, and you really got to keep them incorporated, because I think one thing that I find interesting is like short tracks are where like nearly every single racer in the Cup Series comes from. Like, that's where they begin, and yet they're racing on these short tracks, even though they're going to race on a lot of tracks that are hardly even like short tracks if they were to reach a NASCAR. I just find that personally funny, because Kansas is nothing like this track here. I mean, so, and there's hardly the lowest level that even the races at Kansas or something like that would be like ARCA. So, you know, obviously, you know, those things still are good for prepping you for, you know, this type of driving. But I mean, I just find that kind of funny that they race at tracks that are nothing like the tracks they'll end up racing at when they're in a pro sport. Now, obviously, it costs a lot more money to build like a 1.5-mile circuit. But yeah, rumor they're going back to North I can never pronounce it, but North Wilkesboro, we'll say. I think that's it, Wilkesboro. I always want to say Wilkesboro, but it's Wilkesboro, I believe. And yeah, I think they're going to be going back to North Wilkesboro. I don't know if the Cup Series will anytime soon, but I think the trucks are going to be trying to run there pretty soon. I think Rockingham also has a possibility of being used again for certain types of racing. And I think it's just good to restore some of these older tracks that were truly like once like gems of the circuit. And not even if the Cup Series only races there a handful of times for just nostalgia, or if they never end up racing there, I think it's good to bring them back because they'll still be used by like, or at least they hopefully will be used by like some sort of like local short track, racing league to an extent. Because I mean, they're still like cool facilities. They have so much history. I don't know any racer that would not want to have the opportunity to race at one of those tracks if it's like within a couple hours of them. So yeah, that's just my take on that. And I think it's great also that like the North Carolina government is willing to put like, I believe like $20 million towards restoring the tracks in the north, restoring both. I don't know if it's 20 million total, or if it was 20 million to North Wilkesboro and then 20 million to somebody else, but there's at least a couple $1 million going out to North Wilkesboro, the Rock, and I think Tennessee's also putting some money from the government, or not the government, the state government, into restoring like the fairgrounds or something. But with the new cars, I think you're going to start seeing other drivers up front. I know, I'm not sure. I think that's been a bit of a I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, but I think it's still a bit too early to tell if we're going to see a lot of new faces at the front with the next gen car. I think Colleague's going to be competitive, and I think there'll be a new team towards the front, but I think that's not necessarily the next gen. I think that's Colleague putting a ton of time and money into developing a good team that'll be competitive. I know Colleague wants to be competitive. I mean, they came into Xfinity in like 2015, and they were like contending for the championship by like 2021, like for a couple of years later. They basically built their program from the ground up, and they've already won a cup race by now. I mean, they won a cup race before 23XI. Like, it's pretty funny if you think about it like that. I also think there are going to be a lot of interesting stories, because the midfield is, I think, where things are going to get really interesting. You have Trackhouse, you have RFK, you have 23XI, you have the one Colleague car that's full-time. You have Front Row Motorsports with Michael McDowell. I think McDowell could have a shot at pointing his way in. Maybe Todd Gilliland. I don't really see it. You don't know Stenhouse. Also, it's going to be interesting. JTG may be leaving the sport after this year or soon in the next couple of years. I mean, there's rumors of that. Now, I think more so they're going to have to wait for somebody to want to get into NASCAR and be willing to purchase their charter for a good price. But yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see, as well as Stuart Haas, and let's see if Stuart Haas rebounds this year. I think they will, but just how much? I don't think they're going to reach their form they had in 2020, but I think they'll definitely be better than 2021. And if they're not, now that'd be like pretty much, I'd be like thinking, well, this is looking to be the end of Stuart Haas racing. But yeah, I'm just going to get off here in about a minute or two. I appreciate all of you who've been tuned in the chat just a bit. And thanks for getting it up to 5 likes. What team was Ryan Preece? He was driving for Rickmer Racing. Him and Cody Ware were working together for the same team. Rickmer Racing will be fielding 2 chartered cars, since they sold, I believe, one of their charters. And they had a shared charter with Richard Petty Motorsports, and that went to GMS. But I think Rick Ware will probably end up trying to field like a third car as an open car a handful of times this year, and if not this year, definitely next year. I don't think they're going to stay content being just a 2-car team, because I mean, as long as they can have their car stay out of trouble, it's worth it to have them out there making more money for the team. And then yeah, so but that 15 car will kind of have a numerous amount of drivers in there. Ryan Preece will be back in there for the Coke 600 and a handful of other races. I believe he has 4 races this year in that car. I don't know if this one counted as one or not. And then the predominant driver in that car, I'm not totally sure who it's going to be. I know Reagan's going to be in the 500 for him, and I think he may do another couple plate races actually, but I'm not certain. So, and then I believe Garrett Smithley will probably be in there, James Davidson a couple times. Do you like Wayland Modifieds? I used to watch them more a little while ago, but they haven't been on TV or on the channels that I use as much recently, so I haven't really watched them that much. I didn't really watch them that much last year, but I mean, I enjoy watching them when they're on TV. I got Flow Racing, so I don't know if any of the races are on Flow Racing. So I may, if they are, maybe I'll pay more attention to them then. Yeah, we're gonna cut it here in a second. I appreciate you for tuning in, David Ingy. That's gonna be all for now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It was fun coming on tonight, and hopefully we'll be back soon. I'm gonna be working on my preseason predictions video, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it out before the season starts, and if I can't, well, then I don't know if I'll end up uploading it or not. But I'm working on that right now, as well as another project, but that project probably won't come out for another month or so. So yeah, that's my update for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Have a good one.